Hi, this is Greg Ruby for Acoustic Guitar Magazine. We're going to continue our series on chord melody style playing by exploring connecting bass lines, inversions for the diminished and the dominant 7 chord on the inside 4 strings, and arpeggiated picking in the style of Eddie Lang. Let's jump right in. In example 1, we have a descending melody line. And we're going to harmonize that with the B7, F sharp 7, B7 to an E minor, B7, E minor. I know it sounds like a lot of chords, but it's going to make sense as we go down with each melody note. So we're going to start on that B7, one of the inversions that we covered on the top 4 strings in prior lessons. And then we're going to go to the F sharp 7, getting that note of A sharp, and then that's going to lead us to back to the B7 with the melody note of A. So we get that nice chromatic line, and in many ways it's going 1, 5, 1. So, and that's leading us right to E minor. Here we have a voiced E, G, B, G. Now the convenient thing about this is we just slide those 2 fingers down. 1 fret, bring in the 2nd finger onto that note A, voila, we get a B7. We take those fingers off, and then we have an open E minor chord that is going to give us time to get over to these bass notes where we're going to descend down to C sharp. But you'll see that in a later example. So all of that together. Excellent. Example 2. We're going into a C7 chord now, and we'll be inverting this on the middle 4 strings. So prior we've mostly done our inversions on the upper 4 strings. But now we're going to look at the middle 4, because sometimes the melody notes we want land on the B string and we want a fuller voicing. So we're going to start with C7. You may have seen this C7 before as just an open A7 chord, very similar shape. If we played that open A7 with our ring and pinky and then kind of moved it up 3 frets, and with our first finger capo, we would get C, G, B flat, and E. And like we did in prior series, we want to ascend up each string individually, mapping this out, E, G, B flat, C. All the notes of that C7 chord, writing them in, B flat, C, E, G. On the next one, we have G, B flat, C, E. And then on the next one, the 5th string, C, E, G, B flat. So then when we put those together, we can have C7 with that E note as the melody. Then to get to the next one, what we're going to do is take our ring finger and our pinky, slide them together up to the 8th fret, bring our 2nd finger down to the 7th fret of the 5th string, playing the note E, and then our first finger, this might be a little bit of a stretch here, to the note C on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. And here we have C7 with that G as the melody note. Then we're going to continue up. We're going to let our pinky guide us. I always like to think of, when working through these, of having a lead finger, having the follow fingers, just like in a dance, right? So the pinky leads up to the 13th fret, and then the other fingers are going to organize around it to make a C7. This shape should look familiar. Maybe you've played the blues before, played this E7 down in open position. But if we just use the closed strings, we have this up here with a G, C, E, B flat. Always helpful to know your note names. Then we're going to continue up we'll have B flat, and then our pinky is going to be on the E. We have a G with our first finger at the 12th fret, and then our ring finger is going to play that note C at the 13th fret. This is kind of an impractical place to play this particular shape, but on other chords, say maybe it's in F7, right, and right, you get a nice sound out of that. But back to C7. Yeah, there we go. All right, now in example 3, we're going into the diminished 7th chord. This is going to be a C sharp diminished 7th. Like in C7, right? Remember this one just minutes ago? We're going to bring our second finger up to the 4th fret and just bring our first finger alone over to the 3rd fret of the 3rd string, making a diminished. Gift to guitar players. The diminished chord is constructed entirely of minor third intervals. Now, that may sound like a lot of theory, but in simplicity, we just have to move it up 1, 2, 3 frets, same shape to get the next inversion. 1, 2, 3. So again. We can also take that diminished shape and add melody notes in between. I'm using my pinky to connect all those. So as I'm playing that first diminished shape, the C sharp, I'm kind of keeping the shape in my hand, going up 2 frets, still with my pinky on the B string, and playing that next note. So the note is F sharp, so I'm going E, F sharp, G for the melody notes. So up 2 frets, chord, up 2 frets, and then up 1 for the chord. So again, pinky up 2 frets, move it up 1, back to the diminished, up 2, up 1, back to the diminished, up 2, up 1, back to the diminished. All right, great. Now, one of my favorite examples, and I use it all the time, is the arpeggiated picking that Eddie Lang uses. Often to achieve this, you want very full chords. So let's say for that, just a G major as in example 5, right? Good old bar chord. But what we're going to do with this is a lot of this comes to the right hand. We're going to play these as triplets. So the rhythm's going to go triplet, 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 etc. And we're going to go across triplet. I'm going to drop the pick. I'm using a rest stroke style picking here, which I find to be the easiest and to kind of get the fullest sound, but feel free to explore this as you need to. So I'm going down the 6, 5, 4 strings, and then I'm lifting the pick, and then I'm going on the next set, 5, 4, 3, and then I'm lifting the pick, going 4, 3, 2, and then I'm finishing it off with just the first string on that note of G. So that would sound like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you can use it all over the place, right? This is a G major. Maybe you want a A7, right? Or a full A7. Up. There you go. Or maybe a D7. You could do it this way. The important thing with these arpeggiated chords, it's really useful to use 6-note voicings and not skip any strings, because part of it is playing those adjacent strings to each other. All right, let's jump into after you've gone the verse, and we'll take it apart. So the first part opens in G major, and we're going to, beat 1 is going to have the bass note of G. And then we're going to play the next 2 notes of the G chord, the B and the D. So, and then we're going to get on the upstroke, that note E, and then our first finger is going to come over to get the note G. So that together that goes. Now let's add the chord in twice. So from there, and part of the technique of this is to sustain the chord while you're playing melody notes. Here we go to a familiar A7 shape, adding in that 9. D9 here with that A note as the melody. So that's coming in on the and of 2. And then on the and of 3, we're going to play that bass note again. And then we're going to do a triplet chromatic descending bass line. Basically, just go down every fret on your A string. And that is aiming towards the 3rd of the G chord. A lot of the early style of guitar accompaniment in this doesn't always play the roots and the fifths as the bass note. Johnny St. Cyr did a lot of that. Eddie Lang did a lot of that. It's worth taking a listen to and seeing where those bass notes land, and you can start to craft your own chromatic runs into them, or diatonic as we have in the next one. So we're going to go back to our G. This time we're just going to play the top 4 notes of that D9 chord, placing the F sharp as the lowest notes, and we're going to come back and play that. And then we're going to play this. This time, this one's gonna, it's also chromatic, but we're gonna head to the 3rd of the B7 chord. So we have, and then when we get to that B7, our first finger lands on the 6th fret, and then, as we did in example 1, so once we come down to that C sharp, again, the 3rd of the chord. So you're going to hear that throughout here. We go back to our A7. Okay, that's pretty similar to, right now it's just down a step. So oftentimes with these moves, we learn them one spot, but we can apply them to some other spots. So after we descend the melody there, we're going to go D7, A7, D7, but the melody is ascending from F sharp to G up to A. So the chords are going from D7, I'm going to repeat just that last little bit where I reached across, are going D7 to A7, back to D7 with an ascending melody, F sharp, G, A. And we're going to go and use some of our inversions on the middle 4 strings. So we have D7 with the F sharp, then we have A7 with the G as the melody, and then we're going to let our pinky reach up to the 10th fret to that A and play the D7 in this inversion. So and then we're going to jump down just to do a good old 5-1. And then we're back to our, I like to think of it as a back to our theme. And then we're doing a descending diatonic run from the A, the 5th of the D7 chord, down to the flat 7 of that G9. Again, when we go from this G9 to G7 with the B in the melody note, so A to B, and then back, and then we take the pinky off to get that note of G. So we have, and here we're going to go to a C6, right? Our melody note is E. We're delaying it for a couple beats so that we can get in this great arpeggio, right? From example 5. Same picking, but we're starting on the 5th string. And immediately as we have that open string ringing, that lets us start to make that transition from on that C note. We go down half a step, back up, and then we hit that C sharp diminished. Root. We're gonna go bass, chord, and get the other 2 melody notes. So that's, this time when we come back, we're gonna continue up the fretboard like we did with example 4, playing the melody notes of the diminished scale in there. So, and then from there we're going to use our first finger reaching over to the 5th fret of the high E string, and then we have G6 to G6 as we've covered in prior lessons. Right, similar to our C7 that we had earlier, right? Inversion, middle 4 strings. And then we are tying it off with the A9. So getting that B note in the melody, coming down, getting that E note on the 2nd string, and then playing the middle 4 strings, a D9 to a D7. And well, let's end it with that arpeggiated picking. So that last little bit. All right, thank you for tuning in to today's lesson on chord melody style playing. There's a lot of great stuff in here. Go slow, have fun with each example, each couple measures, find new places to apply them, and go play the verse before the next time before you play the song after you've gone. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Greg Ruby for Acoustic Guitar Magazine.